don't forget, brunches this weekend. Our book brunch is this weekend. And we're going to go see Wicked for Good on Sunday morning.
Yes. I will have already seen it Friday night with the kids, but.
Oh, we're going at 1:45 on Sunday. We got our tickets. But not going to name names. Someone had me pick the seats out on the app. Because, when you pre-order tickets on the app, you can pick your seat out.
Yeah.
So I picked the back row right in the middle. Yeah. Like I always do.
Yeah.
And then he forgot to log into his account. So we had to log into his account. So when to go do that, the seats I originally taken were locked in the system. No, because they were locked in the system by me. So we had to pick different seats.
Oh.
So hopefully those seats are still locked in the system somewhere.
Okay.
And no one is going to get them.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of From Art to Atoms,
the Ultimate Curiosity Show.
I'm Brandon Shoemaker.
That's Michael Fols.
And this week, so we're supposed to be talking this week about our second installment of our conspiracy series.
Yeah.
But some recent events have happened that we needed to kind of break the status quo and talk about something a little more timely.
I mean, it's not really like we have to talk about now. It's just something that happened that is really cool.
Well, yeah.
Not really cool. Let me say that.
Yeah.
Not really cool, but
it was an experience.
It was unique.
Yes. And
different.
It was timely. And so we want to go ahead and talk about it while it's fresh in Michael's mind so that we can, get the best of the story from him. So,
this geriatric mind over here is going to forget.
So I think we might have even mentioned last week that you were called for jury duty.
Yes.
And I was, because I was called once for jury duty a couple years ago, and I was convinced the same thing that happened to me was going to happen to you, which was you check the night before or the morning of and find out, oh, we don't need you to come in. You're not called.
Yeah. Well, so let me just tell you, I knew that wasn't going to happen because, when I got my letter, they assign you a jury number. Mm-hmm. And the last time I had jury duty, I was like 465. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to get called. And I think they cut it off at like 400 to call in. Well, this time I was jury number 12.
Oh.
Yeah. I was like, I'm definitely not going to get called out of this one. So
I had not even put two and two together on that.
Yeah, I knew I was going to have to, unless whatever was happening was canceled due to some kind of agreement or whatever like that,
Right.
I knew that I was going to go in there, at least for jury selection on Monday.
Yeah. So you went in and you got called. And so it was a 3-day ordeal in total.
Well, jury selection was on Monday, and then court was closed for Tuesday for the holiday for Veterans Day. And then we started the trial on Wednesday and wrapped up on Thursday afternoon.
Yeah. So 3 days in total.
3 days total. Yeah.
All right. So I'm just basically this week, I'm going to interview Michael about his experience serving on an actual jury.
Yeah. So
because we're both nerds, we are both judicial nerds.
Well, the experience is actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
To go through it. You see a lot of like what happens on TV kind of thing, and you're like, that I'll never know what that's really like.
Yeah.
And unless you live in the world of law and the courts and stuff like that, you really don't know what it's really involving.
Exactly.
And so it's interesting to see kind of like how it operates.
Yeah.
And in the thick of it.
And I am so very jealous because I have always wanted to serve on a jury, and now Michael has finally. But also my 70-something-year-old uncle also has always wanted to serve jury duty, and even at his age has never actually gotten to serve. So
well, I'll tell you. So 3 or 2 of the other jurors on the case had served multiple times.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh my goodness. I don't want to do this again. Actually, I would do it again. It was really interesting.
I was about to say, would you really not? So
yeah, it was really interesting.
But then also, okay, well, so let's dive in. So what?
So okay, let's start Monday.
Okay,
Monday morning.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Okay. What was jury selection like?
So jury selection is we go in, in kind of like an intake room, and now they've updated everything where I used to have to sign in and do all this paperwork now before. Now everything is done prior to you actually showing up.
Yeah.
And so they scan your barcode on your letter that they send you, and everything populates in the computer under the barcode. And then it's kind of like they process you, like you're going down the line, right?
Yeah.
And so she scans you in, and then a lady comes out and gives you a $20 bill, and she's like, "This is your jury duty. Like, this is your payment for showing up today."
Yeah.
And then the next lady's like, "Do you need a letter for work? Like showing you actually showed up." And I was like, I'll take it as a souvenir. Don't really need it, but I'll take it as a souvenir. And so then you just wait until, and they maybe had 100 and so many people in there in that room. The judge said they sent out 400 letters, and he said, "This is definitely not 400 people. So some other people are going to be getting some follow-up letters from me this week." And we were like, ooh. But, so the clerk comes in and she kind of just explains, this is thank you for showing up. This is the process, which I think is funny. If you'd like to donate your money that we just gave you back to the system, we have a donation form. And I found out that it's because a lot of like businesses, if they're paying you, they make you donate the money back.
Okay.
Like you can't get both. Yeah. And I'm like, keeping my money, keeping my $20 is buying lunch today.
Right.
That's exactly what I did with it. But then, the judge comes in and he goes over, these are the qualifications for being on the jury. You can't have a felon warrant or anything like that. You can't do certain things. What are the qualifications for that? Does anyone have anything where that doesn't apply to them? And so if you do, you go talk to him and tell him this doesn't apply to me. No one did that.
Okay.
And then the next thing is, these are some, I guess, legitimate reasons why you cannot serve. And so like if you're over 75, he said you can still serve, but you can get out of it if you want to.
Yeah.
Also that like if you are the only caretaker of a child under 12, like a single parent and you're the only one there, or you're still in high school and you're under 18, are you over 18 but under high school, or still in high school over 18, or a full-time college student, like if you have college classes,
right,
or active military. And the one he was like, he said he's waiting for someone to finally stand up and say this qualifies to me, because there'll be some commotion after it. And it was active military, but you're there and you're on active duty, but you're not in the, you're in the courthouse.
Right.
Which means he's like, but that means you'd be AWOL and we'd have some issues there too. And he's like, I'm waiting for that to happen, but it's never happened yet. I was like, you better hope it doesn't happen. So then he just goes over those calls. So if you have any other issues also, like let's say that you have a doctor's appointment coming up, he did say that this case looks like it's going to start on Wednesday and will wrap up on Friday. So if you're picked for jury, you need to make sure that you are free those 3 days. Like it doesn't, he said it's probably going to end on Thursday, but he can't make a promise to that.
Right.
So, so like he said, if you have prearranged doctor's appointments on those days, you can say, hey, look, I can't get out of this. Yeah. And so, those people also were called up, and then they sit back down. I'm like, Lord, he denied everybody.
Oh, wow.
Because they'd get up there and talk to him, and then they'd go sit back down. And so then we would.
And didn't he say something specifically about teachers?
No, that was lawyers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was lawyers and jury selection. So yeah, you used to be able to say, look, I'm a teacher, I can get out. I can't serve. And they're like, not anymore. Can't use that as an excuse anymore. Because everyone's work is important.
Yeah.
So then he goes away, and then what they do is they dismiss people for whatever reason. So all those people that had excuses of, I have a doctor's appointment, something like that, they were dismissed at that time.
Okay.
So he did let them go.
Okay.
And I don't think he denied anyone that actually had a legitimate reason. Like they went up there and talked to him. He released all those people.
Yeah.
And so then they called, I think, they called us by name to go into the courtroom to begin the process. And I think they went all the way up to number 65. Or they picked the first 65 people that were there. So let's say you were like 49.
Yeah.
And 50 wasn't there. Then 51 became the 50th person that went in the room.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's not the matter of they call 1 through 65, but they call the first 65 people that are there.
Right.
On the rosters. So of course I'm number 12.
Mm-hmm.
And so we line up and we go into the courtroom. You can't bring cell phones in your courtroom at all. He doesn't want them in there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, to the first row. So we go into like, I guess, the gallery where people are all just where the public would be able to sit in the trial and stuff like that.
Right.
And the first row is, of course, seats 1 through 12. So I go in and I'm on the end of the first row and I'm like, oh, damn, I can't hide. Last time I was all the way in the back.
Yeah.
I was just kind of putting my head down, reading my comic books and stuff like that. So I had my comic books with me this time and I was sitting on my lap and I'm like, I can't read. I got to pay attention.
Yeah.
So you go in there and, you have all these people looking at you and the judge is not in there yet. He will come in.
Yeah.
But you have the courtroom is kind of an interesting design architecturally. It's based on a circle.
Okay.
You haven't been in the ones here, have you? So it's a big circle. You have 2 desks in the circle pattern here. And the witnesses, or not witnesses, but the jury would sit up here in this area over here. And then the judge is over here with the witness stand and the court reporter.
Oh, okay.
And then in the middle is just a podium. So kind of flows into a circle pattern. And so you had, when we walked in, they had a young lady that she's maybe in her late 20s, early 30s. Kind of sitting on a desk by herself. And then they had another guy, and she's professionally dressed. So she obviously was something to do with the courts, Another guy was in a suit, and then the guy next to him, which looked like his assistant, were sitting, and he was just in like a shirt and a tie.
Okay.
And then you had all these other people where the jury sits, just kind of hanging out up there. And then the judge would come in. And so he presented the case to us. Well, he presented the prosecution and defense. So we're sitting there and we're just waiting for the judge to come in. And you could hear people behind me in the jury pool talking. And they're like, do you ever just wonder what they're thinking about right now? Like, what are they writing down about us? Because you feel like you're being judged,
Right. Yeah.
Because they're like writing down everything, just looking at you. And so then the judge comes in and it starts the process. And we stayed like that for like 10 minutes where they were just kind of talking amongst themselves and writing stuff down and everything. And I was like, look, I'm just reading. So judge comes in and he introduces, prosecution and defense. And so apparently the young lady is the assistant DA or one of the assistant prosecutors for the DA's office. And so she was the one who was going to be prosecuting the case, presenting the state's case. Then the guy in the suit is the defense lawyer, and the guy sitting next to him that I thought was his assistant was not. It was actually the defendant.
Oh.
And he'd been staring at me like, because I'm like in eyesight of him. Right. And I'm like, oh no, this is not good. This is not good. So they start the case. And, and so the jury selection process is really kind of like it goes through a couple of questions, several. We were in there for almost 2.5 hours. But it's really to kind of weed out anyone who may have a bias.
Yeah.
Or anyone who may have an issue with some of what would be discussed in the case, like a personal belief system.
Right.
Or someone who just can't be fair.
Yeah.
What
were some of the questions that they asked?
So like they would put up a witness list or anyone associated with the case. So the investigator for the police, the arresting officer, the family members of the victims and the victim herself. And
now at this point, you still don't know what the case is about.
No,
right?
Yeah, no, we don't know anything about it. So it's pretty much just that.
Yeah.
And so they go through like the state's case. So the state does their first jury prep first. Like they do their jury pool first.
Like elimination?
Well, they're not eliminated until the very end, but the state has the opportunity to go first on everything, apparently. Like I noticed that there was a pattern there. And so the state she had a presentation and she goes, okay, so these are the things here. And then she did go into the details. So if you knew anyone that was associated with the witness list or anyone associated with the case, obviously you have to tell them, like, okay, I know this person, or my did y'all like have to raise your hands if you did? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so what we do is they gave us a number walking in. So I had number 12. And every time you had to stand up,
paddle.
Yep.
Like you.
Yeah, it was like a little placard. A little placard.
Like you're at an auction or something.
It's like a little plastic placard. And I was kind of like looking at this thing. I'm like, it's 12. It's kind of cool. I want to take it. I want to keep it. Me and number 12 became friends. So Every time they called on us, we'd have to stand up and hold our placard like we were like prisoners, like, and state your name and then go ahead and just answer the question. So that way the court reporter could have everything written down. That's a whole process I'll talk about also, because that was really interesting to me. Like I got wrapped up in the court reporter process here. Yeah. But so there, a lot of the questions like, do you know anyone? Do you have any issues with this? So let me go ahead and give you, because at this point she introduced the charges to it.
Okay.
So she introduced the case. This case is going to be a case against, defendant. And again, they used his name. He's an adult.
What was his name?
Jerry Jordan.
Okay.
So Jerry Jordan, just like, I kind of was like, oh, I've never met a good Jerry. I didn't say that. But it's just a name that kind of sticks out, Really, the only Jerry I know is Jerry O'Connell. So I was like, okay. So he had 2 charges against him.
Mm-hmm.
He was charged with continuous sexual abuse of a child under 14 is the first charge. And then the second charge was a charge of sexual abuse via exposure to a child under 14.
Mm-hmm.
And so she said, these are the 2 charges that the state's going to present against him to you.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone have an issue with any of these things? Like, didn't go into any detail. She just said the charges. And several people were like, oh, yep, that's me. Nope. And one lady got there and she was in tears. She's like, I can't do this. I can't. I was like, well, she's definitely not going to get picked. There were a few definitely not going to get picked after this.
Yeah.
But they didn't go into any details yet about it. Just kind of like what the charges were. So they kind of said, okay, does anyone have an issue with this?
Yeah.
If you do, raise your hand. And they literally went through every person. Row 1, anyone have an issue? Row 2, anyone have an issue? Row 3. And so they didn't eliminate at that point. They were just kind of taking notes.
Right.
Okay. They do. So they did, do you know anyone associated with the case? Do you know anyone with these issues with this kind of case? At one point, she requested to approach the bench to go consult with the judge.
The prosecutor?
Yes.
Okay. And
so, when anyone's called to the bench, both prosecution and defense both go.
Yeah.
And and then they come back.
Mm-hmm.
And so apparently they went ahead and released the minor's name, her name, because at this point they had to introduce family would be involved,
Yeah.
And they need to make sure that you don't know her also.
Exactly.
So what I thought was odd, and not really odd, but different, was that there was no precursor statement saying, do not use this minor's name. Don't talk about this, because if you're not selected for the jury, you're allowed to leave and then go talk about it. You know what I mean? Like there's no, because you're not involved in the process anymore at that point. But they're usually, because, we teach. And so privacy for minors is really super big in our world. I just thought that was kind of odd that there was no precursor statement of don't mention her name.
Mm-hmm.
But throughout the court, they named her Jane Doe. Or through the proceedings, she was Jane Doe.
Yeah. Is she still a minor?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, she had just turned 14 in October, from what I understand.
Oh, okay.
And so that was part of the thing. So one of the things that you're going to find when you go do this is the charges are very specific on wording.
Mm-hmm.
And so what in the state of Texas, continuous sexual assault or sexual abuse of a minor under the age of 14, for the state to prove that, there has to have been, continuous means more than 30 days. So they have to prove that it continued for more than 30 days.
Oh, wow.
And that they have to prove that she was under the age of 14 at the time that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So she can be 16 now.
Right.
But as long as it happened when she was 14.
Right.
So the wording is very specific. I thought that was very interesting because they kept on harping on this continuous, or more than 30 days. And because there was no real time frame. And then they also gave 2 specific dates of on or before this date. And then it stopped on or before this date.
Mm-hmm.
And that the state is not entitled to prove that it actually happened between those 2 days. That there's ballpark range dates.
Yeah.
But they're very specific dates. Like they don't just say, okay, it happened in December.
Yeah.
It started happening in December. No, it happened. They say it started on or before December 9th. And so the state's not entitled or is not required to prove that it happened within those dates.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was really interesting to me. Like you're very specific on wording, but then, hey, we're going to go ahead and let you slide on the dates. You know?
That's interesting.
So they talk about what it was and what he would be charged with. And then they talk about kind of like he selected to
the defendant.
Yes, selected. In Texas, you can select where a judge is the one who finds you or punishes you, so assigns the sentence to you, or you can have it to where both the jury assigns both guilt and non-guilt and punishment should you be found guilty.
Okay.
He chose the jury to do both.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, they had to go through and say, okay, so with this charge, here are the punishments you can assign him.
Right.
You know?
The maximum allowable.
Right. Minimum,
stuff.
maximum, any stipulations in there. Right. So they go through that. And so again, part of the selection process is not, can you be fair to the defendant, but can you also be fair to the state? Like you have to be a fair, unbiased to both parties.
Right.
And so that was one of the big things that her presentation was like, can you be fair to the state? The state is saying that in this case, 25 years is the minimum for the first charge, up to 99. So there's a sliding scale, or you can assign just a generic life.
Yeah.
Be the maximum.
Yeah.
With no parole. And she's like, are you a person who believes that 25, it could be 26, it could be 35, it could be 44, or are you, nope, automatically life? Like there's no way for you to be able to see that there's an option somewhere in between life. Like you go from 0 to 60 in a half a second. And so several people are like, nah, yeah, he's going to end up getting life no matter what, if I'm on the jury. And they don't want that.
Yeah.
Because that's a unfair decision before you've even heard the case.
Yeah.
Before you've heard the evidence presented by both parties, you've already in your mind made up that if he's found guilty, he's got life. And several people said, look, I can't even be on this case because I don't know the evidence. In my mind, he's already guilty. Yeah. And one lady got up there and stood, just the fact that he got this far in it means in my mind, he is guilty. Where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Kind of thing.
Well, it's it's really good though that they ask those questions and that, people are, well, at least some are honest that they feel that way.
Yeah. And I think some people were honestly, truly feeling exactly that way. And some people are kind of like, I'm saying this to get out of it.
Yeah.
And I remember one guy, he was like one row behind me. He stood up and he goes, because they at this point, they're asking questions, they're like, and she tried to kind of hit on every single person to kind of make every person be heard. So like if she started off asking juror number 1 a question specifically, and then kind of popcorn from there. I use a teacher term, popcorn. You like that one. But so jury number 1 says something, and then she goes, does anyone else feel this way? And so then, like jury number 5 may say, oh yes, me also. And so then when she was done that kind of thing, then she went back to number 2 who hadn't said anything yet. And then does anyone else feel, and so she kind of eliminated it where it was like that, not where she was going to every single person in a row.
Yeah.
But that she was actually going to be talking to each of us. And so I remember one guy got up there and he said, well, I think all of us talking about this whole punishment thing is kind of stupid because when they find out what he did, if he goes to prison for this, he's not going to last long anyway. And I was like, oh, he is definitely not going to get picked. So, and again, I'm on the front row having to watch this man while these people are just kind of tearing him apart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this man is already guilty before anything's even started in these people's minds.
Right.
And
what were some of his reactions to all this?
He did not react to anything. He did just kind of sit there and he did take notes. Now, I don't know what he was saying. He did apparently have a jury list, like a list of all of our names, just like the prosecution and the defense. Both attorneys had that as well as the judge. But apparently he also if he had issues, I'm assuming he could talk to his attorney and say, look, I don't.
Oh, okay. Like I know this person, he don't like me.
Or not even that, but like, yeah, this one's just kind of like, I have a bad feeling about this one. Or, he can kind of, I guess, give some feedback on what he's seeing also.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't think he did that, but I'm assuming that's why they would have given him a list. Cause he was over there writing stuff down too. I was like, oh, he's making a hit list on all of us. He like, juror number 12 going down tomorrow.
Oh God.
But you know what I mean? Like, I'm sort of thinking, what is he writing down?
Yeah.
He's like, this guy hates me. He says, I'm going to die. So at one point, she said, are there any teachers out here? And two of us raised our hands. You know, you have to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of was like, no. And so because I was on the front row, she picked me. And she's like, okay. So I had to stand up and hold my number 12 up. Probably. I'm like, number 12. You know, hi, I'm Michael Volz. And she goes, okay, so if you have two students in your classroom who are not getting along or something happens, like one says that another one hit them, you know, something happens, what do you do? And I said, well, I mean, you talk to both parties, you know, you got to talk to both kids and find out what happened and kind of investigate on your own and see really what's there. I said, and whatever comes out of those conversations, or if there is something like some kind of evidence, like if something got thrown across the classroom, you know, and stuff like that. I said, you take that
into consideration.
Whatever. Yeah. And you make a decision based on that information. She said, okay. So, you know, so it's like you have to kind of make a decision based on, you know, what's there. I said, yeah. I said, it's like you're basically having to solve a puzzle, you know, by putting the pieces in place. And until you have those pieces, you really won't be able to get a clear picture. You know? She goes, okay. And so I sat down, I was like, oh Lord, she's going to pick me. I knew at that point I was in trouble. I knew it. And so she went through her thing and then we broke for lunch. Like let me tell you, that's how long that process was for her. And we went to lunch probably around 1:00. So we've been in there.
Oh, wow.
We had to get there at 8:30, I think it was, to start the process, or 8:00. And then we probably were in the courtroom at 9. So from 9 to 1 was her going through her presentation and asking questions. She broke for lunch for an hour and then we came back. And so then the defense had his chance to go ahead and do same kind of presentation. But, you know, he had a different list of people, some of the same people on there, but his list was much more extensive.
Oh, okay.
His list included the investigators, the lady who worked for the child advocacy group, you know, though most of those people, you know, and his was more about explaining what beyond reasonable doubt meant. Yeah. Does that make sense? He's like, you can say you think something happened, right? But thinking something happened is not beyond reasonable doubt. Yeah. And so he's like got this little step kind of diagram that shows like steps of doubt. Yeah. You know, and here's reasonable doubt. And then he said, and then where I need you to be is one step higher to beyond reasonable doubt, you know? And so a lot of his stuff was like that. Oh, okay. Like it was kind of like, you could see where he was trying to make his case. Yeah. And the questions, so it was interesting to watch or listen to and really kind of observe, because the question types were two different types of questions. You know, his was based on more of that, kind of like, you cannot say that he's guilty and, you know, just off of a feeling, hunch. Right? Yeah. A feeling. He said, the law does not see feelings. It sees evidence in front of it, and that's what it sees. Yeah. He said, so you may feel that you don't like the way he looks, you don't like the way he dressed, you get a bad vibe off of him, but you cannot convict him on that. You have to convict of what is presented in court. Okay. So we come back from lunch, he does all that, and we take, I think it was like a 15-minute recess or whatever like that, and they put us back from the courtroom, they put us back in the jury pool selection room. Okay. We just sat there. And so at this point, then they call us all back into the room, you know, and I'm assuming that is where they're making their selections. Yeah. You know, and sure enough, I was the third one picked. Number 1 was picked. Number 10 was picked. And number 12 was picked. So 3 of us in the front row were picked. Oh, wow. And so he's like, okay, so when they called out your name, you walk up and you go sit in your chair. I mean, it's like they put you in your chair. Oh, wow. Okay. It's kind of like a walk of shame, you know? And so everyone else is just kind of like, oh, please don't let it be me. Please don't let it be me. While they keep on calling. And they called 12 of us and an alternate. So 13 of us total. Yeah. After we did that, he swore us in as the jury and then said, everyone else, ladies and gentlemen, you are free to go. And so they all left and we had to stay. And he just gave us kind of like, you know, so we're sworn in at this point. So there is no discussing the case amongst ourselves. Yeah. There's no discussing the case amongst anyone, you know, that we know. And I see the point of that now is to preserve the case, the integrity of the case. and to preserve the integrity of the evidence that's presented, and also to prevent any bias from being formed over time.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, because if you had the freedom, like say to just, because I mean, you called me and said, I got picked.
Yeah.
And like, I don't remember what I obviously wasn't asking questions about.
I sent,
oh yeah. You sent the picture
message
of
my badge. Yeah. My jury badge. You're like, I hate you. And I said, oh no, you don't want to be on this case.
Yeah.
Don't be jealous. He said, you said jealous or something. I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
Like, don't be jealous. You don't want to be on this case. But so they tells you, don't talk to no one. Don't go do your own investigations.
Yeah.
Do not go to where you think it might have happened to try to find clues yourself. You're not an investigator.
Oh God.
Do not research the lawyers. Don't look up anyone involved with this case at all.
Just be completely blind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, he goes, okay, so the bailiff is going to take you back to the jury room. He's going to show you where you're going to be kind of doing your thing. Mm-hmm. And that to me, like, okay, so I've never been back there. Like normally it's just closed doors. Like you see what's just in the courtroom,
Right.
And so I was like, okay, well now I'm going on my behind the scenes tour, and God love it. This building, the courthouse was probably built in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely internally shows its age because of just the stylings and the what looks like it had like mustard yellow doors.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh, this building definitely is not aged well.
Mm-hmm.
So we go into the jury room and the bailiff goes in there and says, okay, so here are your badges.
Mm-hmm.
The badges will let you into certain areas of the courthouse that are sealed off to designated personnel.
Ooh.
I know. I was like, official.
It's like a backstage pass.
Yes. So he's like, okay, so write down your name and your number for me so I have it on file.
Mm-hmm.
He said, here's my name. Here's my number. If you are late or anything is happening, you need to call me right away and let me know.
Okay.
And again, he's releasing us. They're releasing us basically, for the day.
Right.
We're done. And we have
that was relatively early, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was about 3:00. That's what I'm saying. So she spent a lot more time doing her stuff than the defense did.
So in other words, the process of, we strike juror number so-and-so, y'all weren't even present for, right?
Yeah, we weren't.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They did that privately.
Yeah.
And so I also think that a lot of the questions that he had to ask or get information on were also answered or asked by her, which is why his presentation wasn't as long.
Right.
He focused, like I said, he focused more on the reasonable doubt stuff.
Yeah.
So they let us go. And so we're done for the day. Now, normally what will happen, this normally takes place on Tuesdays, but because of the holiday, they did it on Monday. And so their court was closed on Tuesday. So I was able to go to work the next day.
Yeah.
And take care of what I had to take care of because at this point I need to get a sub for the next 3 days.
Right.
And so of course I go into school the next day and we had a field trip scheduled for Friday.
Yeah.
And if any one of my kids is listening, I will deny this, but I could have said I have a field trip scheduled on Friday.
Yeah.
But part of me just did not want to give up the chance to possibly serve on the jury.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I was like, I can always reschedule this. So I did not go up when the judge said, does anyone have any issues, early in the process. For that reason, I was like, what if I get picked? I get to experience this.
Yeah.
And so.
And do the civic duty of serving on a jury.
Right. And so, I could have. So the kids, I had to go on Tuesday and so the field trip is canceled because I did talk to my administration and I was like, well, you can still do it because we had teachers going.
Yeah.
The thing was that the football team was also in the playoff game, which was on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an issue, honestly, logistically, there was an issue with buses and subs.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I already have a sub for Friday, so my sub's not going to be an issue, but the bus, you can have the 2 buses we requested.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, we're going to reschedule. It's not an issue. And I already have one scheduled in May anyway.
Yeah.
So if we don't even get to reschedule the one from the fall, we'll at least still be able to go in the spring.
Right.
But I was like, I won't be here the rest of the week. They're like, wait, what? And I was like, I was picked for the jury.
Yeah.
Oh, can you tell what? I cannot tell you anything at all. Like, I can't talk to you about it.
Mm-hmm.
I said, after the case is done, which will probably be on Monday, I will be able to explain it to you what happened. And I will answer any questions you may have. And what kind of got me there was that the kids were actually pretty interested in the process itself too.
Yeah.
Not so much the way you and I are in the nerdy kind of law stuff.
Yeah.
but kind of like in the what they see on TV, CSI-ish kind of stuff, you know?
Right.
They're interested in that kind of stuff. But so I was like, okay, so this is going to be a good experience because on Monday when I come back, I can go in there and tell them this is what happens, you know? And some of the kids were like, well, what happens if you don't show up? And I was like, if you don't show up, they're coming to get you. Like, you're going to have a fine, plus they might put your butt in jail.
Yeah.
Like this is it's a serious thing. You don't just kind of play around with this. So we end up, I show up, they are like, be here at 8:45. We're going to go ahead and start at 9:00 on Wednesday. So, I go in there and we're all in there in the jury room and we're just kind of waiting, and we're waiting and waiting and waiting. And, none of us have our phones.
Yeah.
And there's no clock in the jury room either.
Oh.
So we're relying on the sun outside this window to determine what time it is. And so the last juror that showed up before it hit 9:00, before we started or whatever like that, we were like, what time was it outside in the real world when you walked in here? What time was it when you last saw a clock? You're the last one in the real world. And she's like, it was 8:40. I was like, okay. So we were just kind of like, because no one wore their watches either. You don't really want to have a smartwatch on either. If you can't have your phone, obviously you can't have your smartwatch.
Oh gosh.
And so one guy had a watch on, but it didn't work.
Oh God.
We were like, what? But so we waited, and finally the bailiff came in and he said, so we're obviously having some issues, not issues, but we're doing something. We're trying to take care of some stuff on the front end that doesn't involve you.
Yeah.
Before we get started with it. So we're like, okay. Cause we were all sitting there thinking they're going to reach a plea deal. We're just going to be called to go home.
Yeah.
And they weren't. And the one thing I will say is that when we were all still waiting before the bailiff came in to tell us that, they're whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
The lady came in and she goes, well, don't y'all all look so happy? Because none of us want to be there. And she goes, well, I'm the person you want to be happy to see. So she's the lady who's going to give us our cash that day for reporting. So in our county, and I found out that in Arkansas, it does not, they don't pay.
Oh, wow. Really?
And so in our county, we get $58 cash right there on the spot for each day you serve on the jury. So I was like, Thomas is not going to know about this money. I'm slipping this into my wallet. No one will know.
So did you ever find out what they were doing?
Yes.
Before that?
Yes.
Okay.
So one of the witnesses that was going to testify or possibly be called to testify, and the judge told us this after the case, when he talked to us all in the jury room after everything was done and said.
Oh, okay.
Because I think someone asked about it.
Yeah.
But basically one of the witnesses, he had to make sure that the witness, what that person said on the stand would be credible as evidence.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So like when you see on TV where the judge says, I want to hear this witness testimony before the jury.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, cool.
Because whatever, and see, so in these cases right here where there is very little physical evidence, the evidence also is considered what the person on the stand says.
Yeah.
And so their testimony is your evidence that you have to use. And so he wanted to basically screen it prior to us hearing it. And so we found that that's what was taking so long.
So was that person's testimony allowed, or did he? Oh, okay, cool.
Yes. So we got started. And it was also kind of interesting because, usually in the courtroom, when we went in there the first time for jury selection, you sit down, and then what's the one thing that people hear in the courtroom? All rise. The judge walks in. He says, please be seated. Everyone sits down. They told us on Monday, he said, when you walk in, everyone's going to be standing, waiting for you.
Oh.
You don't have to continue standing. He said, you can sit down.
Oh.
Everyone else has to remain standing until I tell them to sit down.
Except the jury.
Yes.
Huh.
Because the jury is very, in the role that they're playing in the courthouse or in the courtroom.
Yeah.
Their role is even more important than the judge's role.
Oh, yeah. So it is literally an honorific.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
I was like, yeah, sit down. I was like, the only time people have ever stood up for me was on my wedding day. So, so we walked in and they were all standing.
Yeah.
And so at this point, I knew who the defendant was. And he was there.
Yeah.
Front row and center. I did not make eye contact with him. I was like,
Yeah, you had enough of that the other day.
I already feel bad enough on this poor guy. He's about to be ripped apart. I just know it.
Yeah.
So the prosecution started, the state started the case off. And so I think the state called the opening arguments.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're going to go after. This is what, if you find, this man did this. And when she presented the case, it was not if you find or if you think he did this, it was he did this.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, it's in her mind. It's already, he did it.
Yeah.
When she presented her case. And so then the defense got there and goes, and that's where he said, beyond a reasonable doubt. Remember, I told y'all in jury selection, this is, thinking something happened is not the same as knowing it happened beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right.
And so he kind of continued that and echoed his kind of jury selection speech to us and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the first witness was called to the stand, which was the grandmother, the victim's grandmother.
Mm.
And she was the one who the victim kind of confessed to.
Uh-huh.
And so the grandmother, both the state and the defense were able to examine the witness.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that would kind of stuck out, and that's another thing is that they also say you're allowed to have, so they give us a legal pad and a pen to go up there with because we don't have transcripts of anything. So what is heard, if you don't write it down and you forget it, that's lost to you as a member of the jury.
Yeah.
So everything that you have is legal, your legal pad, your notes.
Just what you've taken. Okay.
Correct. And so,
good Lord, I'd be writing furiously.
Oh yeah. I had like 9 or 10 pages of notes. I did. And some people are like, well, I didn't write anything. And I'm like, it must've been the teacher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was like taking notes, but the grandmother said that the victim, the minor, the girl was, she said the way she presented it to her grandmother, she's like, so if I knew something that would hurt our family, should I tell? And the grandmother goes, well, yeah, if it's involving you, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, I don't want it to break up my family because my mom was not as happy as she is now. So she didn't want to say anything because there was a fear that what she had as a family unit was going to change.
Yeah.
And so kind of we wrote some of that stuff down. Like that was one of the points in deliberation that kind of we brought up because you're looking for motive. Like, what is the motive of this little girl?
Yeah.
Why is she doing this? And I'm not saying that, and again, you have to have an open mind.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things in the jury selection stuff that said, do kids lie? Do you believe kid automatically?
Right.
And yeah,
we're teachers.
I was going to say, yeah. So, and one of the other questions too that they were asking in jury selection is, if you see a police officer, do you think a police officer could lie? I like, yeah. And for me on that one is the public has a distrust of law enforcement.
Yeah.
Now, Yeah. And so there was just a motivation we were trying to find, and some teenagers, and again, she wasn't a teenager then, she is now.
Yeah.
And she was when she made the cry out, the plea for help.
Okay.
She was when she made I forget what they call it, but she was.
The accusation.
That had only been happened like the prior year. So she was 12, just about 12, 13 at that time. Sometimes it's because I don't like my stepdad and I want my mom away from him.
Right.
Sometimes it's just I miss it being my mom and me kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't like the new addition to the family. And so we tried to find motivation.
But her saying that,
that kind of eliminated the motivation for any negative motivation there, because that really showed that it wasn't because she wanted to break the family up, but in fact that she didn't say anything because she was afraid it would do that.
Yeah. So was the defendant her stepfather?
Stepfather, yes.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
her mom's husband. And it started when she was 8 and continued, I believe, for several years. I think she was maybe 10, 11 when it stopped, I guess. Or the last, I didn't say stopped. I should say the last incident of it would have stopped. And so the grandmother just kind of testified to that. You know? And they had a big meeting after. And we found out that it was the dad's mom, the grandmother, paternal grandmother.
Okay.
But after the little girl made the outcry for help, they went ahead and called her brother, who I guess was a teenager, a young teenager, I guess at that point, maybe 15, 16, in to kind of just, I don't want to say mediate, but before they called dad in, the brother was like, I'll kind of, handle dad. Because when they called the dad in, I can only imagine the fury that came out of this man, and that the son probably kind of really did help dad. Look, you're not going to go kill him, you know? And then I found it very odd that mom was the last one to be called.
Mm.
But I understand that now because that was her husband at the time.
Right.
You know, and so it was not the maternal grandmother, it was the paternal one. So, you know, she felt more comfortable calling the dad her son as opposed to her daughter-in-law or ex-daughter-in-law or whatever.
Yeah.
And so they had a family meeting. Mm-hmm. So grandmother goes off. That's it on her. So that's what we get out of her. And so I thought it was going to be more kind of build up to this, but then they call the victim next. Wow. You know, like normally they kind of wait for that one to be last, and she was the second one on there.
Wow.
And she stated what he did. And there was a lot of...
And you said she was like 14.
Yeah, she had just turned 14. Well, this was November, so maybe a month prior to the case starting. And he had been arrested a year, June of 24. So he'd been arrested a year and some time prior.
Yeah.
Found out also that he has spent all that time in jail, that he has not been able to make bond. His bond, I think, was set at $1.5 million.
Oh, wow.
So there was no way he was making it. So he's been in jail for a year since everything started.
Yeah.
But so she got up there and she basically said, you know, a lot of her testimony was, I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I remember this, but I don't remember that. And it was kind of like getting kind of what she was saying out of her.
Yeah.
And I think it was very telling on the fact that she could have gone up there and said anything at all.
Yeah.
But admitting, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I remember one thing, but not this.
Yeah.
Like it happened 5 minutes after this happened, but I don't remember that. But it you know, that's something on her credibility also. You know what I mean? Like she could have got up there and said anything she wanted to.
Right.
And so we talked about that in deliberation also, like what she didn't remember certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And
so, she was honest about it.
Right. Right. And there were some kind of, I guess, behavioral kind of not tics, but behavioral notices that you noticed when she was talking.
Mm-hmm.
Like she kind of had her hand at one point. She was kind of doing this right here.
Kind of like squeezing at her elbow.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that was more of like an anxiety thing for her.
Yeah.
You know, but it also could have been someone anxiety because they're lying. So like as a jury, you're sitting there thinking of all that. You know?
Yeah. Because like on one hand, she's telling this vulnerable story. So that could be a sign of self-soothing, but also at the same time, a tell.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, you have to go in with it. You cannot believe a kid just because they're a kid.
Yeah.
You know? And so they had her up on there and she said what she said. And there was a couple of pictures of just like her bedroom with no one in it, but she could describe positions and stuff that where she was and where he was in the pictures to kind of just create a visual for us.
So she was able to remember in significant detail.
I wouldn't say significant detail. She remembered certain things.
Oh, okay.
She couldn't remember how her room was rearranged after a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and she could just remember where he was and where she was, and for one or two incidences that happened, you know.
Yeah.
And they really kind of described, I guess, maybe 5 incidences.
Mm-hmm.
And again, no time frame. She couldn't say this happened 2 weeks later, this happened a month later.
Yeah.
There was no detail on time.
Yeah.
And so she was called, and then I'm trying to think of who else after her. I know that her dad was called at one point, and you could see the daggers in his eyes when he walked, because they're all kept outside the courtroom while people are testifying.
Yeah, if you're a witness, you're not allowed in the courtroom until you testify, right?
And so, and even after that, you have to go back out. Like you're not listening to anything else.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting because, again, they don't want any collaboration between people. And so after the victim was called and released from the stand, then they called another young lady who was in her 30s, who was also his former stepdaughter from the mid 90s to the mid 2000s time frame.
Yeah.
And her tale was that he did this to her also.
Oh.
Not the same exact stuff.
Yeah.
But definitely touched and did stuff with her in 98 to 2004. She doesn't live in town at all. Like she doesn't live in the state at all. She had to come down. And you know, the first victim, the younger one, didn't really cry. This one, you could tell that this one was destroyed because of what happened.
Yeah.
And, you know, and again, you can't let tears affect you on this. You have to listen to the words, not the tears, because that could be anybody can, but the fact that several things that she said matched up with what the other one said, and is it possible that it could have made a story up together? Yeah. Anything's possible if they had met before,
Right. But that's where reasonable doubt comes in.
Right. And one of the things that I thought was interesting is that they called when the defense was talking to the first victim, the 14-year-old, he asked what he did. What did your stepdad do to you?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, he sexually assaulted me. And the lawyer was like, well, is that age appropriate language? Like, does a 13-year-old know sexual assault? Are they going to describe what happened to them as sexual assault or as something else, you know? And so he kind of made the case be like, okay, so how much prep did y'all do? How much did you and the prosecution prep?
Yeah.
To kind of see how much of it was her talking and how much of it was what the prosecution wants her to say kind of thing. He was trying to make that the case. That's the kind of angle he was going for. But this other one, man, when she got there, she was like in tears and emotional. And like, she said she cut herself. She dropped out of school. She kept a journal. She started a journal and she would cut herself and put his name. She wrote his name. She would put her blood all over his name in the journal.
Oh, wow.
And so they had the journal and they tried to put the journal into evidence, but it was overruled to be put in evidence because of, and we found this out later too, because one of us asked at the end when everything was said and done, the judge was talking to us in the quarters or in the jury room, why didn't you allow that in? And he said, if she had said that there's I guess a hearsay thing, stuff as far as evidence has to be proven right now. Something that is said 20 years ago in a journal can't be.
You don't know if that's the reason why she wrote what she wrote.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so if the defense objected to that being put in, and he asked the prosecution, okay, so why do you want to put it in? And the reason she gave him was it conflicted the hearsay thing. So if she had used a different reason to put it in, he would have allowed it in. He could have, there's different ways to get it into evidence.
Yeah.
And the one that she chose just didn't stand up.
Reason.
Right. He said that. He said, if she had said this, I would have let it in.
Oh, wow.
So I think that's kind of interesting also that as a lawyer, again, it goes back to the fact that you have to know, you have to be an expert in your field, you know, and on the fly like that too. So they didn't let that in.
So were you even aware of the journal until after the trial or?
No. Yeah. They tried to put it in.
Oh, they tried to put it in the moment. Yeah. Oh, okay.
And so we had to eliminate, like we knew the journal existed, but we couldn't
use that as.
But her testimony was talking about what was in it. So that became the evidence we could use of the journal. We just could actually see the physical journal itself.
Gotcha.
And so they let her go off the stand, obviously. And so then they called the dad up there. The dad went up there and testified. Then they called the investigator, the police investigator who worked for the police department. And, he just answered very straightforward what he believed. And then they called the lady who's in charge of the child advocacy group who interviewed her after the claim was made.
Yeah.
And she was able to.
So now you're saying child advocacy group, is that like distinctive or is that separate from like CPS or something?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it's not private, but I think it's an advocacy group that works, a nonprofit that works in town.
Okay.
For us.
Gotcha.
For the town itself.
Yeah. And
so, but she has, they went over her credentials, like how long have you done this? How many continuing education credit hours do you have based on what this field is? Blah, 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 blah. Kind of establishing credibility.
Yeah. And
then the prosecution went ahead and asked if she could be entered in as an expert witness in the field. And, the defense has the opportunity to say, no, we disagree with that. And he did not. So they both agreed that she would be considered an expert in her field.
Okay.
And so her testimony kind of stood higher, I guess, because of that. She's an expert in the field. It wasn't just someone up there that was just talking.
Yeah. So now did they say anything to you about if, for example, they had said, okay, we're rejecting her as an expert witness, would they, or
No. So I don't know if that ever would have happened. I don't know what would have been there. You know?
Okay, gotcha.
And in all honesty, though, like looking at this, like when that happened to me, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, you know, the defense could object to that.
Yeah,
and it would help his case.
Yeah,
but he didn't.
Yeah,
and that kind of gave me respect for him. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't a slimy lawyer. You know what I mean? Like he was upholding law.
Yeah.
And so they called her up there. They talked about, I guess, the test after, and there was no I don't want to say like a rape test, but they did a physical exam on the victim. Right. But it had been a year, you know, since everything had happened. So nothing was going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't find anything. It was pretty much just, you know, in talking to her and interviewing her, how that happened. And so I think at that point, the state kind of closed its case coming into that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One thing that kind of put us off guard was that the mother was never called to the stand. The defendant's husband or ex-husband or ex-wife. Sorry, ex-wife was never called to the stand. So we kind of was like,
So, but they divorced after.
Yes. Yes. Well, yeah. He was at work apparently out of town when the cry for help was made.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had 2 days to kind of put in place a plan to get him, and they arrested him while he was out of town.
Okay.
And so he didn't know anything at all, what was going on at all until he was arrested. And that was 2 days after she made the cry for help, the plea for help or whatever like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point, somewhere in there, we did go to lunch, you know, and the state rested Kate's case kind of around 3:00.
Mm-hmm.
And they, you know, we're going to go we're going to go home that day. We're kind of a good stopping point there.
Yeah.
And again, don't say nothing. You cannot go investigate. Don't look up anything.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your mind just kind of where it's at.
Yeah.
So we come in the next day, get started at 9:00. Defense puts the case on.
This is going to be just a random sounding nitpicky question. Were you allowed to take your legal pad with you, or did that have to stay at the court? It had to stay
in the courtroom.
Okay.
Yep. It had to stay in the jury room.
That's what I figured as much, but I just wanted to
had to stay in the jury room.
Yeah.
Yep. And so we come back the next day, and the defense starts its case, opens its case up, and he only called 2 witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
He called the biological son of the defendant.
Okay.
Who was maybe up there for all of maybe 5-10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of, you know, how was he when you grew up? Do you love him? How, you know, kind of, I don't know, really character witness, but really kind of establishing, do you remember the older girl?
Uh-huh.
You know, her pseudonym name was MJ.
Uh-huh.
And so, do you know MJ? Yes, we had a good relationship, and try to create that she had a loving home when they were together.
Right.
You know, and that was his stepsister, obviously.
Yeah.
And then they called the defendant to the stand, and we were like, oh, because we didn't think he was going to say anything at all. Because one of the questions in jury selection was the right to remain silent is there not for just protection of the person it's against.
Yeah.
But also you cannot hold that against that person for not speaking either.
Right.
Like his silence does not automatically assume guilt.
Right.
And so we were like, he's not going to be called. Well, he got called.
And
so he's up on the stand, and then the questions again are just kind of like, you know, did you do what you're accused of? No, you know? Mm-hmm. And so we found it funny that when the prosecution was able to cross-examine him,
mm-hmm.
she was pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
You know, and she even said in her closing arguments
mm-hmm.
at the end of the case, she's like, so when you saw me questioning him, he kept on saying, no, he didn't do this. No, this didn't happen. She said, what was he supposed to say? Yes. You know? And so I was kind of like, yeah. But she was pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
Like she was like, did you, like, using very strong language, you know?
Yeah.
And he kept on saying no. And so they rested their case mid-morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we went ahead and went through the process of the state is allowed now to kind of come back after they've seen the defense's case
mm-hmm.
and kind of ask any follow-up questions and stuff like that too.
Of witnesses? Well,
that happens in the moment, but kind of like stating if they want to recall any witnesses to the stand.
Uh-huh.
You know, like kind of like, okay, so you said this, but we're going to go ahead and kind of find more information about.
Right.
And then the defense also has the ability to do that too.
Okay.
And then they both rested their case.
Oh, okay.
And so then it came to deliberation. So we're at Thursday, probably about 11:00.
Uh-huh.
And so we went in the back room. And so again, this is the first time we're able to discuss anything at all.
Yeah.
I found it out also that we could, and that one of the weird things was like the judge is giving you instructions to the jury, and he's got to read like a 10-page paper to you because there's a lot of legal wording in it. And he's got to read both charges off to you.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, this is when I thought like, oh my God, I'm tired. I have got to pay attention. Like I'm zoning out, but he's like talking. I'm doing my best. And I was paying attention.
Yeah.
But the surreal moment hit at that point in time.
Okay.
Because he's giving you instructions and you have to pay attention to every word he says to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
Because if you miss something, someone's life is in your hands.
Yeah.
And so we go back to the room. One thing he did say is that you cannot talk about anything without all members present.
Okay.
So we go back to the room, and of course,
somebody had to pee.
People have to go to the bathroom. Yeah. And I'm like, Lord, I've held my mouth quiet on this for the last 2 days. Can we please just sit down and spill it? But we had to wait till everyone was in the room.
Yeah. So what were some of the other people like that were in the jury with you or on the jury with you?
Like, what do you mean? Like
were they old? Were they young?
Oh, so it was a mixture of people. We had about half and half were kind of my age.
Okay.
Or younger.
Okay.
And half were a little bit older.
Okay.
So, and blue collar workers, a lot of them worked at the depot, you know, just kind of labor work. Some were supervisors. Some were business salespeople. You know, it was just as a wide variety of people. And so we go back there and we start deliberating. And so one of the big things is that, and I told him, I said, do I think that he did something? Yes. Do I think that he is beyond a reasonable doubt guilty of what they're being charged for? No. And so we started that. And so several people were like, yeah, we kind of feel the same way.
Okay.
And we started playing this game of, okay, so let's piece everything together. So one of the things that happened was that he had a job working 2, 3, and 2. So 2 on, 3 off, or 2 on, 3 off, and then 2 on again.
Okay.
Or something like that. Maybe it was 3, 2, 2 kind of thing. Maybe 3 on, 2 off, 2 on. Just he was just skilled worker, like that, that kind of schedule. But he would go in at 6 o'clock at night and come home at 2 in the morning. And so one of the things that we kind of figured out was that the older victim said that he would come home and pick her up from the living room and bring her to bed. And that's when he would touch her. And we're like, where's the mom at? You know? But then when he said his schedule, and see, that didn't have anything to do with the 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
We didn't find out his work schedule till prosecution was asking him about his work schedule. But at 2 in the morning, everyone else is asleep.
Yeah.
And so when he comes home, he has the opportunity to do what the one witness said he did.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the big things there that we kind of like, so timeline wise, that actually is possible that he was doing this.
Yeah.
And again, we talked about motivation, like what is the motivation in both of them? And we couldn't find a motivation of anger or anything else on that.
You mean for them to have lied?
To accuse him of this, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that 2 people who didn't know each other at all have kind of the same, I guess, experience with him.
Right.
Was kind of also connecting for us. And so we deliberated for about an hour and a half. And of guilt or not guilt. And it had to be unanimous. And so we went ahead and made the bailiff aware of our decision being done. And ended up going back in the courtroom, and we said guilty on both charges. And so the judge will ask the head juror, have you reached a decision? The paper is handed over. They look to make sure all forms are in good process, which means all forms are in order. And then the judge reads the decision that we've made. And so at that point, so we've assigned him guilt on both charges.
Yeah.
And so after this, now we have to then deliberate punishment, but we're going to go to lunch first. I was like, okay, good segue there. He's like, okay, remember, you cannot talk about anything with anybody, not any other jurors. You cannot talk about anything to them either.
Yeah.
But he knew at that point with guilt that he was at least going to serve 25 years, no matter what.
Yeah. That was the minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was without parole. He knew he was going to get that.
And how old was he?
He was 50, 54.
Yeah.
So he still had a good 30, 40 years left in him.
Mm-hmm. Has.
Yeah. And so what I thought was interesting is that we come back from lunch and we don't go back into the jury room and then deliberate punishment.
Mm-hmm.
We then have to sit through another presentation from both the state and the defense on, you found him guilty. Now here's what the state's asking for.
Okay.
The state is saying you give him the highest,
Yeah.
And the defense is like, okay, you found him guilty, but can he be rehabilitated? Like they both presented a case also to kind of wage punishment.
Okay.
Which would be the best interest in and so they can call witnesses there too.
Oh, okay.
And so it's almost like a little mini court case inside of a bigger court case.
Right.
And so they called his nephew as a character witness on him, saying, I love him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be there for him no matter what. When he gets out, yes, I'm going to be there for him. And we're like, okay, so where was this guy? And that's what I said when we went back to deliberate the punishment.
Mm-hmm.
Where was he in the beginning?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you call any character references to speak to his character before we assign guilt or not guilt?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so they did call back both girls back on the stand again.
Oh, okay.
And then that was the state doing that. And then the nephew.
Now, by this point, they've already known.
Yeah, they were in
guilty,
the courthouse.
Right?
They were in the courthouse when that was read. Yeah.
Okay.
Or in the courtroom when he was read. The guilt or not guilt, the verdict was read on that one.
Yeah.
And so we go back and deliberate after that's done. And that take us maybe about 30, 35 minutes, I guess.
Okay.
And we tossed around a couple of numbers. He had done it starting in 98. That was 26 years ago, times 2 victims would have been 52 years, And then one of them was like, okay, so if you take the age of both of the victims and add those together, that could be the number of years. And one lady was like, look, I just don't want him to get out again.
Yeah.
We can put 50 years on it. He's 54. He's not going to live to be 104. We know he's not going to get out. And one of the guys is like, well, if you're going to do that, you might as well just give him life.
Yeah.
Why put these numbers in place if he's going to be in prison anyway? Put him in life. And so we did ask a question of the court. So that was an interesting thing too, is that the jury can send a question to the judge, to the court through snail mail. Basically, you write your question down on a piece of paper
and the bailiff takes it
to the judge. The judge then responds on paper and brings it back to you. And the reason it's there is because that becomes an official court document at that point.
Oh, okay.
Once signed by the judge, that's an official court document that then has to go into the file for this case.
Ah, okay.
And so we were like, so we want to know if the first sentence, is he going to serve, let's say we give him 50 years for the first sentence and then 2 years for the other one.
Yeah.
Is he going to serve for 52 years or is the 2 years going to be served at the same time as the 50? Right. And the judge wrote back, I cannot answer that question.
Oh, okay.
Because he is the one who makes that decision.
Oh, okay.
It's not I don't think it's a written down policy kind of thing where he's got to follow.
Yeah.
He on his own makes the decision of concurrent or consecutive.
Right.
And so he did not want to answer that question at the time. So we're like, okay, so we tossed around the numbers again. And the guy who kept on advocating for life, he kept on doing it. And all of us didn't want this guy to get out to do this again, because that was one of the things that the girl who had talked about, the older girl, said, if I had said something back then, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
She has guilt from it happening to somebody else. And so we didn't want that to happen again.
Right.
He gets out in 25 years. But another thing is that the prosecution ended up saying something that was truly important to us in the sentencing case that she presented, was that send the message that this will not be tolerated in our county.
Yeah.
If you do this, we're going to find you guilty for life.
Yeah.
And so my idea or my thought process was, we can send numbers out, but no one's going to know the significance of those numbers but us.
Right.
No one will know it was the victim's age, all added together, and all this other math.
Yeah.
And so it made sense. We wanted life because it sends a message.
Yeah.
It's a strong message. So we gave him life in prison without parole. was on the first one.
Yeah.
The second count, again, had a range of 2 years to 10 years and up to $10,000 fine.
So what was the second charge?
The second charge was the exposure.
Yeah.
Exposure charge.
Okay.
And so we did that one at 10 years maximum for him for the exposure. We did not fine him any money because when we found this out, when the defense was talking about in his sentencing presentation about, he said, I want to point out something to you. The $10,000, you may think it goes to the victims. You may think it goes to the DA's office. It goes to the state.
Oh.
And we were like, nah. If, and he'd have to work that money off. Which they would never get that $10,000 anyway.
Right.
But if it went to the victims, we would have given that.
Right.
But it was gone to the state. We're like, nope. So we assigned the top max jail time to both charges.
Yeah.
And so we went out there and that was read to him. And I will say that the head juror who has to fill out the documentation for that, he had to write life on the paper. And, the brevity of the moment, we were all in there just feeling it. Like it was so quiet and so heavy. And his hands were shaking writing life. Cause you're sitting here thinking, okay, are we making the right decision?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, all of us said that we inside of ourselves felt like we were making the right decision.
Yeah.
And so we went out there and we signed life and 10 years and they arrested him right on the spot. They put him in handcuffs and then we were done.
Yeah.
The judge came back there and he spoke to us for a few minutes and asked any questions. And that's when we found out about the notebook.
Yeah.
The journal couldn't be admitted. That's when we found out that what took so long was that they were kind of getting that screening of the witness testimony from the older girl to make sure it was accessible or acceptable.
So that's who it was that they were talking to.
They were talking to her because she had just gotten back in town that morning of the court case. And he said, the prosecution, the lawyers are in the courtroom. If you want to speak to them, you can. They love taking questions because it helps them get better at their jobs.
Yeah.
And so, I did. One thing though that I talked about before, because we went out in the hallway and that's kind of where all the court employees are. And so I asked the judge, I said, is your court reporter still out there? Because I want to talk to her. And he goes, she's right there. And I go beeline to her.
Yeah.
So for her job, one of my distant cousins used to be a court reporter in the 80s and 90s and a lot of shorthand typing, right?
Yeah.
It's not that way anymore. And I was like, this is interesting.
Oh.
So she's got a little kind of not a microphone, but it's like it looks like this. And she speaks into it.
Like a cone?
Yes.
Huh.
That records every word she says. And she is saying everything that is said in court after it's being said in court.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. See, she would have said that.
That's insane.
That's insane. And so she's doing that with all these people.
Oh, my God.
The judge, the witness stand, the prosecution, the defense, all this is being spoken by her.
And it's dictating what she's saying.
Into the computer. Yeah. So I was like, okay, talk to me about your job. What schooling do you have to have? And she said, is there a need? She said, there's definitely a need for it. She said that you can take classes online to get that certification. It's a court reporter certification. It's like maybe 18 months, I guess. But there's a need for it because it's a dying career.
Yeah.
And so I just thought that was the coolest thing. Like I was mesmerized by her just kind of, because you couldn't hear anything, but you could see her jaw moving.
Yeah.
And that's all you could tell is that she was talking into it.
Oh, wow.
And,
yeah, I would have found that distracting. I would have been like watching her the whole time.
Part of the time I was like looking at her screen going, I can't read that, but I know it's kind of dictating something on that screen. Something's going on over there. But, and so that was the case. That was it. Like
did you ask the lawyers any questions or anything?
I think we did. There were three of us still in the courtroom at the end when I got out there. After talking to the court reporter, I went in there and there were three of us. And so one of the questions was asked, was there a plea deal presented to him?
Yeah.
And there was. He was presented 40 years and he chose to deny it. I mean, he should have accepted it, but yeah, I mean, it was just general kind of questions like that.
Yeah.
So, and then we went about our business and it was kind of like you kind of went through trauma bonding with them.
Yeah.
And you want to remain in contact with them, but it's kind of like So the three of us were leaving the courtroom, and then we went down the stairs to leave the courthouse, and then we kind of went in three different directions out in the parking lot to our cars.
Yeah.
And that was the end of it.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting experience. It just really was.
Yeah. Well, and that's that, as soon as you told me, that you had gotten chosen, I was like, I want to pick his brain about everything.
Yeah.
I want to know every detail.
Yeah. And I think this conversation is probably the most detailed of the experience that I have told anyone.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's because I think, that's something that we talk about our civic duty and things like that. Both of us always vote when we're supposed to and whatnot. And
well, I didn't this last time.
Well, okay.
It was local elections on like bonds and proposals and stuff. It wasn't.
Yeah. I didn't either. I know those things
like
matter.
Our proposals, it matters to the people it affects. Like the proposals were like tax on farm equipment. Stuff like that.
Yeah, same. Like I looked at what we were voting on, and I literally looked at all that, and I was like, yeah, none of that affects me. So yeah, it was all about farm bonds and stuff like that, agriculture. So
I mean, there were state proposals.
Yeah.
And Texas is a huge state. A lot of it had to deal with West Texas as opposed to East Texas and rural Texas. Or in city Texas, urban Texas, I guess.
Yeah. But anyway, other than that, you and I both pretty much vote in every election.
For sure.
Yeah. And so, and I know you, just like I do, consider that part of our civic duty. And also
you can't bitch about it if you haven't taken part in it.
Exactly. That's what my dad used to say all the time. Did you vote? No. Well, then quit complaining.
That's right. And I do a lot of complaining, a lot of bitching. So
exactly.
I don't want no one telling me to shut that down.
Exactly. So, but that's another part of it that we don't get to see as often is serving on juries.
Yeah.
And so
I think it's funny is that when he dismissed everybody else who didn't get picked, he's like, go ahead and buy a lottery ticket. And I was thinking to myself, well, we're the 12 chosen. Why wouldn't we buy a lottery ticket? So I don't know.
Yeah. So was it the fact that you were juror number 12 in that first culling of the jurors? Did they go in order in terms of like the 12 that were selected or the 13 that were selected?
Yeah.
So then having a lower number legitimately does give you a higher chance of actually being chosen then.
I don't know how many behind me got chosen because once I walked up to the jury, once they called your number and you walk up and go sit in your chair, you're kind of like, oh my God.
Oh yeah. You quit paying attention to what number was like, chosen.
It doesn't matter. I'm already on Squid Games. Why would I care who else is going to be picked?
Yeah.
But so, I don't know how far back they got.
Yeah.
But I will say, like I said, 3 of the 12, which is a fourth, were between numbers 1 and 12. So 3 of the 12 jurors were on the first row. It was 1, 10, and 12.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could be because they talked to us and saw us more, I don't know.
Was there anything that in this experience, that like took you by surprise or like that changed your opinion of the process versus like what we see on TV?
Yes. I think what you see on TV, and I'm not saying they're not out there, but like I said, I do have much respect for the defense attorney because he was very, very professional.
Yeah.
And one thing we did notice is that where she was aggressive towards, the prosecutor was aggressive towards the defendant, the defense attorney, as much as he wanted to drill the girl, did not cross that line. Yeah. He was very professional, very respectful of the fact that she was a minor.
Yeah.
And although, like I said, it would have helped his case had she been older, because he really could have been more aggressive.
Yeah.
Because he was aggressive with the other one.
Oh, he was.
Not as aggressive as the prosecutor was.
Yeah.
Because again, she was still a victim.
Yeah.
Or should I say at that point, claiming to be a victim.
Yeah.
She wasn't really found as a victim yet. And we talked to him after in the courtroom. He said going after her aggressively would not have helped my case at all. In fact, it would have hurt my case.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if he was found innocent, it still would have hurt my case because it would have made her that victim on the stand, even if she wasn't a victim in real life,
It would have made her a victim of that moment.
Right.
Yeah.
And that to me is a lawyer who knows his job.
Yeah.
You know, he knows his skill base is high.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of respect for him on the way he presented the case.
Yeah.
And, you know, do we know if he thought the guy was guilty? I have no idea.
Right.
You know, we could have asked him that, but it would have been very, very unprofessional to do that.
Yeah.
And he would have said, I can't tell you that anyway. But it was very respectful of the process. He was very respectful of the process.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was interesting to me. You know, that I don't want to say it took me by surprise, but it's not what you would imagine someone as far as a defense attorney to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're out just to basically make sure their case is won.
Yeah.
It really is a tennis match between both sides. You know, they're throwing the ball at the other one and how they volley the ball back. Yeah. You know, so that was kind of interesting to me.
Yeah.
I guess.
Wow. Well, I could go on and on asking loads more questions, but then this would end up a 3-hour podcast episode. So
yeah,
I think we will leave it there. Obviously, after a topic like this, trivia seems a little taboo. So I think we'll forego that for tonight.
Well, so we will not really continuation, but in a connection to this episode, I did go on another field trip today.
Yes.
We got to, I arranged that we were able to travel to Little Rock. My anatomy kids were, and we went to the state of Arkansas's crime lab. Yeah. And toured the facility. So we're going to come back another episode, I think, and do kind of a little bit of information there. And that'll tie into our conspiracy stuff, I guess.
We'll find a way.
Yeah.
We'll find a way to make it.
Yeah.
Not our lives. Michael's life has become super interesting in the past week. And so we have.
Hey, it's about to go right back into the dullness. Let me tell you.
Well, if I can, I'll be in Dolesville if I can ever get through the rest of Hadestown,
which ends this weekend.
Yes. So we open tonight for another series of performances and through Saturday.
You mean tomorrow? Oh no, tonight. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're releasing tonight. Yeah.
Tonight. Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for this week's impromptu episode From Art to Atoms.
The Ultimate Curiosity Show. Sorry.
Have a great week. And next week is Thanksgiving. So everybody enjoy your turkey day.
Come on.
I knew that was coming.
Look at Luca. Luca's like, give me some of that meat.
Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to From Art to Atoms, The Ultimate Curiosity Show, episode number 36. Your hosts are Brandon Shoemaker and myself, Michael Fultz. The show is produced by Brandon Shoemaker and is available on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show to stay up to date on all of our latest episodes and news. If you have any questions, feedback, or suggested topics you'd like for us to dive into, don't hesitate to reach out. You can email us at FromArtToAtoms@gmail.com. We would love to hear from our listeners, and we value your input. And don't forget to follow us on social media to stay updated on upcoming episodes and behind-the-scenes content. You can find us on Instagram and YouTube at From Art to Atoms, as well as our TikTok at _From Art to Atoms. We would love for you to leave comments or likes on our post, and we'll try to give you a shout out on our show. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps us reach even more interested minds like yours. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, stay curious.